YouTubers and subscribers, RoseRed17 here, and this is Eden Zero Volume 11, Chapters 87 to 95. Now, in the last volume, it had a good ending to it. And before I get started, there is something I wanted to say about how I wrongly pronounced one of the characters' names. Someone in the comment section corrected me about the pronunciation of the character ways, and it spelled it out for me as Y. So that's what I'm going to call him from now on. Now on with the video. The crew went back in time due to Rebecca's newfound power and went on to fight Drake and Joe and his crew again, but with a head start and a different plan than usual. So let us start off with chapter 87 called 4 on 4, with the drawing of Shiki and his character analysis. Yeah, there are no cover page for this chapter, just the image of the male character and the analysis. In fact, throughout the entire volume, these analyses are the cover page for each character, telling from Hino's perspective about each character's strength, weaknesses, likes, dislikes, and type of powers do they have, and so forth, which is interesting because this is something I didn't expect to see as a cover page. Normally I will see a nice drawing of a random character, whether it's a main character or not, and just take a quick look at the image and the title of the chapter and just say, oh, that looks nice, and click on the next page. But this is the first time I stopped and looked at it for a few seconds longer and skimmed through reading the dialogues and then comments and then click on the next page, which is the first page of chapter 87 that I'm now going to talk about, as the crew plans to only save Labilia and not deal with Drake and Joe or his crew. But then they get attacked by the Element 4, and then the Shining Stars, including Hamura, started to fight against the Element 4s. I will admit that's a pretty cool panel. Shiki, Rebecca, and the rest of the crew are still on the rescue mission when they are under attack by Draken's force defense, as Rebecca is having trouble getting through. So Shiki jumps on top of the ship and uses anti-gravity powers to reflect back the bullets that are fired at them. They push on and then they end up seeing the Guildmaster Noah. This surprised the crew and discussed information about Rebecca's Cat Leaper powers. And I will have to say, I had to read over these pages a few times to get the idea of what Noah is telling them. So what I did understand is that her power was used before 10 years ago during the time when Happy lost his life before he became a robot in her gun. But the twist was that Rebecca was the one who was originally supposed to be killed in that car accident 10 years ago. But her subconscious mind activated the Cat Leaper and changed her location in that specific time. Then Noah explained that throughout the time when her life was in danger, she changed her location in different times without realizing it, and after last time that happened was the 30th time. Noah calls it world number 30. Yeah, reading through this again makes my head spin. So since childhood, Rebecca has been subconsciously using her time travel powers to save herself from danger, or at least her ether gear has been doing it. This is good information about the Cat Leaper's power, but it's still a jigsaw puzzle to me how that power works, because once Rebecca becomes aware of her powers, the memories from the world number 29 will come back to her in world number 30. It's confusing, I know, but if you're one of those people who understands more about the situation, then good for you. But as for me, I'm still trying to wrap my head around about what the fuck this guy is saying. I mean, I get bits and pieces about it, but not having a full picture yet. And I guess I should mention how Noah knows about this stuff. Well, it's because of his ether gear known as the Eye of God, which is like a GPS. Instead, this eye can track people and their location. But his power also descends the event from location from a certain person that he tracked down, which is Rebecca. But he's also the one who sold Rebecca to the people of the planet Glarzin and the information about her powers to Draken in order to defeat him. Not sure I understand, but moving on to the next page, which is the start of the fighting scene between the Element 4 and the Shining Stars, with which, against Laguna, Herma is facing out the Flame Sniper, Hamura is going up against Clean again, and then their sister going up against this guy. And my favorite part about this fight is that he shows Sister the coin about his 60-day torture-free and ready to torture until she hits him in the crotch, and then she shows him the 10-year torture-free coin. Honestly, when I saw that panel, it cracked me up and said to myself, this is gonna be the funniest fight scene I'll ever see. Then at the end of the chapter shows Drake and Joe in a liquid chamber. Now to chapter 89, there Noah told the gang that their enemy has another name called the Undead Joe. And right before Noah could say anything, his hologram starts to bug out and then they lose the signal completely. Yeah, I forgot to mention details like this because I didn't think it was that important, so I just let it slide and mention it later in the video, which would be now. Noah wasn't really there, it was a hologram this whole time, but I am sure those of you who read the manga will figure that out too, and easily dismiss it until it was revealed as a reminder. Now after the hologram was cut off, it shows the real Noah back at the Blue Garden that would be destroyed if Drake and Joe isn't defeated. Now there's gonna be more information later on in the volume, but at the moment, there is a fight scene with Hermit and the Flame Sniper. Now I know he's got a name, but I could care less to remember. I'm just gonna call him Natsu 2.0 because there's some similarities between Natsu and this character. But there's also some stock differences that I have noticed, so let's go with Flame Sniper. Anyway, you know the drill, he gets his ass handed to him by one of the main heroes. I haven't been interested in fights in the manga, but seeing the bad guy being outsmarted and defeated was always a fun way to see how the battle goes down. What Hermit did was she hacked into the weapons that he used in his lair and turns the tide on him. Sure, it seems like a cheap shot, but sometimes you have to play dirty to win a fight. Chapter 90 comes around, there's the battle between Sister and the Torture Guy, and just like last time, they're defeated by one of the Shining Stars. But before that, Shiki, Wise, Pino, and Rebecca fought their way through the army of men to get to Labilia. And after Sister's fight scene, it shows Witch's fight with Laguna, and then it shows Rebecca reaching the cell that Labilia has been kept in prison. But then Rebecca noticed something was odd, and that the timing was different in the world number 29, where Labilia was tortured for days, while in number 30, she seems completely fine. We got a mystery on our hands, I see, and the answer will all come very soon. Meanwhile, at the end of the chapter, Sybil comes around. Now in chapter 91, Hamura versus Sykes, and I figured it was just going to be the fight between the two that are named in the chapter, but surprisingly that fight isn't shown that much in this chapter. In fact, in the middle of it, it cuts to the part where Shiki and the other people that are with him in our conversation seems to focus on the backstory of Wise and Sybil. And that there's a man known as DJ Zombie. It turns out to be Drake and Joe from 50 years ago. So for what I read from this chapter is that Joe wants to steal Rebecca's power so he can remain himself younger, despite the fact that they learn he's never aged for the past 200 years. Now this raises a lot of questions. If the bad guy found a way to keep himself young for so long, why would he need a cat lemur's power of time traveling? And the answer became simple the more I read into it. Immortality doesn't come cheap, and somebody will be paying the price. And also the word limitation comes to mind about this situation. But I will go back to that soon when the time comes. Right now, it's towards the end of the chapter with the fight with Hamura and Scythe again. But then something strange happens. Once Hamura gets the upper hand, Scythe seems to freak out, saying that Drake and Joe will absorb her. She seems to freak out for a while, but then a little device detected her emotion, became unstable, and it seems to fix her up and change her back to her normal self. My key sense is saying that this girl is being controlled by the looks of it. And back to the battle with Hamura, and the victory goes to her, as well as Wish, who took down Laguna in one shot, leaving the rest victorious. Now in the panel with Drake and Joe being inside the machine, which was later learned that it's the machine that kept them young for so long. There is where the word limitation that I had mentioned in the last chapter comes to play. According to Rebecca, Joe has been used as a life support machine that helped him stay young but at the risk of his health. Shiki and the others planned to destroy the machine to stop Drake and Joe for good, and during the conversation, Labilia spoke up, revealing that she's not the real Labilia. In fact, in the next chapter, she revealed to be a mirror from that arc that I have disliked, as she disguised herself as a familiar figure that they all recognize. If I remember, Hamura was the only one in the group that knows her true identity, so it makes sense here. Anyways, she explains herself about her mission and mentioned that she's the one who rescued Labilia. Where Hamura finds her later, then during the conversation, the floor turns into Tara that was created by Drake and Joe himself and willing to steal Rebecca once again. Shiki wasn't having it, as he used his power to free everyone from the Tara, went after Joe, and the rematch begins in chapter 94, Shiki versus Draken. The battle is quite intense between the two strong leads, and if this was animated, it would be more intense. Meanwhile, as the battle goes on, Rebecca and the other end up finding the machine that powers Draken's life force and ready to destroy it, but then comes across Jin. Also, during that time of battle, there is about 1 or 2 pages of Hamura speaking to Labilia and willing to help her. There's also Clean laying on the ground saying that she'll be absorbed. Then this chapter ends with this silly joke about Mascot willing to push the big red button, but then decided not to, as Wise just avoided that fact. Now on to the last chapter of the volume, and this one I saw an unfamiliar expression from Wise. After Amira explains how the machine works and how Draken has been remaining young for the past 200 years. According to her, the machine drains the life force from the people in the city, including his own allies. And without a second thought, Wise runs off after Drake and Joe. During the fight with Shiki, that is when Wise Wise steps in at the end of the chapter. Now I know I have skipped ahead from the beginning to the end on this one, but truth be told, Wise's reaction is what caught my attention and other viewers. Of course, I should mention the part where Amira suggests of reversing the process of the machine instead of destroying it, giving the people back their life force and killing Drake and Joe. But with Wise gone and run off with Rebecca and Happy chasing after him, Hermit contacts Amira willing to help out, but a device is blocking her signal. Sister was there as well and willing to help out Jin and his sister, and thus Jin destroys that device, allowing Hermit to get through the system. What a turn of event, going from bad to good on a mere second just to save his sister. And that expression with Wise will be explained more in the next volume. The volume that I've been wanting to talk about for a long time, and I'm just one step closer. As for this one, it's not that bad, but I will have to say it does give details about Rebecca's ether gear. Something I wasn't interested in at first, but it wasn't until this volume that caught my attention about it, when I'm more interested in her origin story, which is something I will get later in the series. Well, that is it for this video. Thanks for watching. Please leave a comment about your thoughts on this volume, and don't forget to subscribe and hit that notification button for more updates. Rose Red 17 out.